You have probably wondered what it is like to be dead, right? Well, me too. Tessie lay on the hospital bed, her eyes wide and barely breathing. Her skin had already begun to turn pale, and the machines around her were silent. Her body was there, but she was no longer in it. She was only 24. One moment, she was crossing the road, phone in hand, on her way to work. The next, a loud screech, a scream, then darkness. She hadn't felt the impact, no pain, just a sudden blackout. Now, she stood in the corner of the hospital room, watching people gather around her dead body. She tried to speak, but no one heard her. She tried to touch her mother's hand, but her fingers passed right through. Her body felt impossibly light. She had no heartbeat, no breath, yet she could think clearly. All her memories, all her emotions were intact, but she had no weight, no sound, no visible form. When her father arrived, he shouted her name and collapsed. Her younger brother ran in behind him, shaking her lifeless arm. She watched him cry, but she couldn't join him, too bewildered by what was happening. As understanding slowly dawned, she realized the truth. She was dead. The funeral was quick. She watched from a distance. Her aunt wrapped her mother in a thick cloth, holding her as she wailed. Tessie's best friend, Mercy, cried until her tears ran dry, then sat still, staring blankly at the coffin that now held Tessie. But Tessie wasn't in it. Not really. Her body was, but she wasn't. She was in the air, in the shadows, on the rooftops, in her room. The sight of her family's grief tore her heart into a million pieces, so she left the funeral. She revisited all her old haunts, her childhood school, the shop where she bought bread, the small church down the road, but no one saw her. Time moved on. Days turned into weeks. Her once vibrant home became a house of silence. The laughter was gone. The music her father used to play every Saturday morning stopped. The kitchen, once fragrant with pepper soup and jollof rice, remained cold. No one spoke unless absolutely necessary. Her little brother, who used to fill the compound with his boisterous jokes, now walked slowly, his shoulders slumped, his eyes empty. He returned to school, but no longer sat at the front. He stopped answering questions, just staring out the window. Her father sat on the veranda every evening, holding tools he didn't use. Sometimes he'd pick up the old generator, staring at it for hours before finally fixing it, only because the silence had become too deafening. Her mother rarely slept in their bedroom anymore. She lay on the living room floor, curled in a single wrapper, facing the wall. She stopped combing her hair. The scent of her perfume vanished from the house. She didn't cry in front of others, but at night, Tessie heard the soft, steady sound of tears soaking the pillow beside her. Tessie watched it all. She longed to hug them, to tell them she was there, but she couldn't. She tried waving, she tried shouting. She even sat beside her brother once and touched his arm, but her hand passed through. It broke her every single day. One evening, she left the house and walked to a quiet spot by the river, a place she used to go to think. There, under a tree, she sat on a small stone and wept. No one saw her. No one heard her. She was gone, but she still loved them. And they were alive, but broken without her. Tessie couldn't leave. She wandered, alone. There were no answers, no bright lights, no voice from the sky, no wings, no fire, just silence. Her old world moved on without her. She'd always heard that a soul left the earth immediately after death. In church, they spoke of judgments. But days had passed, and she was still here. No angels, no gates, nothing. Just an endless wait, with no explanation. The loneliness was boundless. She couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, she couldn't laugh. She was just there. Her mind began to drift. She walked far, into places she'd never been, into towns where no one knew her name, abandoned buildings, empty churches, forest paths, long dark nights. And then, late one evening, something happened. She was walking along a busy city street. Cars honked in the distance. People hurried past, laden with shopping bags, their voices loud. She walked slowly, head down, weary of existing as a shadow. Then it happened. A young man approached from the opposite direction, holding only his car keys. Nothing about him stood out. He was neatly dressed. But just before they would have crossed paths, he looked up and his body shifted slightly to the side, giving her space to pass. Tessie froze. He kept walking without looking back, unaware. But she turned and stared at him. He had seen her, maybe not truly seen her, perhaps he just thought she was a regular person on the road. But he had moved to avoid bumping into her, something no one else had done since the day she died. Her heart, long silence, felt like a sudden drumbeat. She turned fully, her eyes locked on his back as he walked into the mall, oblivious to what had just occurred. She stood there, stunned. For the first time since her death, someone had reacted to her presence. Or maybe she was just imagining things. In her confusion, her legs began to carry her into the mall.